This is Matthew Cratter from Bitcoin University, and today I want to talk about the new Trezor Coinjoin feature as well as Trezor in general. And I'm going to give you my conclusion up front, which is I regret ever recommending Trezor hardware wallets to my audience to begin with. I wanted to point out, though, that I was never paid or compensated by Trezor in any way. I had and have no affiliation with them, besides being a formerly happy customer who was willing to look the other way when it came to their support for and love of shitcoins, of altcoins. But now I can say unreservedly, don't buy a Trezor hardware wallet. They clearly care more about profits than their customers or their customers' privacy. I would stick to Bitcoin-only companies, as I should have originally done, and this is a change a long time coming. I would stick to Bitcoin-only companies like the Blockstream Jade hardware wallet or the Cold Card hardware wallet for your next wallet. If you have a Trezor hardware wallet, it's probably safe to continue using, though after you see what I'm going to show you, you may even be reluctant to do another firmware update on a Trezor or to trust their node through their software. Personally, I would never, ever buy a Trezor hardware wallet again. And this is one reason why my channel does not have sponsors. I want to have this flexibility to dump companies on a moment's notice. But what my conclusion is, and you can make your own conclusion, you shouldn't trust what I say, but I would say if you can't trust Trezor with their approach to Coinjoin, how can you trust anything else about the company or their products? Trezor can go fork itself. So let's go into the big controversy here with Trezor and Coinjoin. This was the announcement from April 19th, from just a few days ago. Enter a new era of privacy with Trezor. This is obviously from the Trezor account, which it looks like they actually follow me. Probably not going to be too happy with this video. Pay with your money, not with your data. We're proud to be the first, and that's actually really ironic, as you're going to see, because what they're doing with your data. We're proud to be the first hardware wallet to implement Coinjoin in collaboration with Wasabi wallet. So buy our shitcoin hardware wallet. So what exactly is a Coinjoin? A Coinjoin is a collaborative Bitcoin transaction that's intended to give users better forward privacy. An important distinction here, Coinjoin is not a custodial mixer. With Coinjoin, you never give up your private keys when you do a Coinjoin, so it's actually much safer than a custodial mixer where you need to rely on that mixer coordinator, that centralized party, sending you back the same amount of Bitcoin minus fees that you put into the mixer. Why Coinjoin? Coinjoin can help make your future Bitcoin transactions more private. In other words, it can give you privacy going forwards for your sending and spending. What Coinjoin cannot do, and a lot of people misunderstand this, Coinjoining cannot erase previous records of KYC purchases of Bitcoin. So if you bought one Bitcoin from Coinbase, that information was reported to the IRS and probably other government agencies. This may or may not be different in your country, but it's probably quite similar. When you opened up your Coinbase account, you gave them a lot of personal information. This is what KYC means, know your customer, and it's part of KYC, AML, anti-money laundering. But what it really is an assault on privacy, much more than trying to stop the bad guys who continue to find workarounds, whereas the common person gets caught up in these databases and these lists of Bitcoin customers. So when you opened up your Coinbase account, you gave them a lot of personal information like your name, driver's license, address. And now when you withdraw that Bitcoin from Coinbase, your personal information is associated by Coinbase and the companies they work with, and they actually have an in-house chain analysis company, chain surveillance company. This information, your personal information, is associated with your Bitcoin withdrawal address. Again, this is only something that Coinbase and chain surveillance companies will know. Your personal information is not inscribed on the Bitcoin blockchain. The Bitcoin blockchain and transactions remain pseudonymous, but if you can somehow crack these entry points, it gives you a lot more information. And what will happen is these chain surveillance companies, including the one owned by Coinbase, will follow your Bitcoin around. This isn't a problem if you are a hodler and you're going to wait until we really see a Bitcoin standard. And so if you're buying Bitcoin and you're hodling it, this is probably less of an issue. But if you want to spend it privately today, this is where Coinjoin can help you. Coinjoin, again, cannot erase that association, that original association. You can tell the US government that you lost your keys in a boating accident, but if that Bitcoin ever moves again from that particular Bitcoin address, the US government may come knocking. So this is a good reason in itself to try to purchase non-KYC Bitcoin. I've talked about and recommended RoboSats, HODL, BISC, Bitcoin ATMs. This is something that I'm more comfortable going into in my paid course than here on YouTube for obvious reasons. But feel free to Google these services and then check out my in-depth coverage of these services in my paid course. And you can find that in the link in the description notes below. Right here is where you can click, and then there's a coupon code that will get you the best price, YT99. And while you're here, I just ask you to click the like button, which is right here, and the subscribe button as well if you haven't already subscribed to the channel. This is a great way of supporting this channel's mission and growth. So in summary, CoinJoin cannot erase the purchase of KYC Bitcoin, but it can give you increased privacy going forward as you send or spend your Bitcoin. And hopefully we reach the point where there's a Bitcoin standard and the anonymity set is much, much larger. There are more people using Bitcoin, and people will be able to move their Bitcoin onto Lightning and have some privacy in terms of spending that way. But this is an ongoing development, these privacy issues in Bitcoin. Now, a typical CoinJoin looks like this. You have an equal number of inputs, an equal number of outputs. The reason these amounts are not identical is because there are fees paid to the miners, obviously the miner transaction fee, as well as the centralized, the coordinator of the CoinJoin, which who also gets paid. Another reason that it's set up this way and you want to be able to pay the CoinJoin coordinator is not just so they can make money for their company, but also this provides some civil resistance because it's much more expensive than to flood these rounds with lots of different Bitcoin UTXOs if you have to pay for each one. And the reason a company like a chain surveillance company might launch a Sybil attack, what they'll basically do is they'll make 3 of these their own inputs, and then by process of elimination, they'll know the 4th one is someone else, etc. So that's a Sybil resistance problem. That's an advanced topic for another time. Now, most CoinJoin services, Wasabi, Samourai, which we're going to talk about, most CoinJoin services except for JoinMarket, which has more of a maker-taker model. Most CoinJoin services have a centralized coordinator, as we said, who helps us set up the CoinJoin transaction in exchange for a small fee. That's why we see the difference between input and output size here. Now, let's focus in on the Wasabi CoinJoin protocol in particular. Anyone can run a Wasabi CoinJoin coordinator, but as far as I know, there's only one Wasabi coordinator that has any volume and liquidity, and that is zkSNACKs, which I believe is the originator, the parent company of Wasabi. You can run your own instance of Wasabi, but it doesn't do you any good if there are not a lot of people joining you. So this is the coordinator, zkSNACKs, that is going to be handling Trezor Coinjoins. Again, zkSNACKs is a company in its own. Now, there's a big problem that I have with zkSNACKs. They're supposedly a privacy service. This is what they built their public reputation and their business on, but they're in bed with chain surveillance companies, and they like to use a chain surveillance company. They don't disclose which one. It may be Coinbase's, it may be a different one, it may be Chain Analysis itself, but they like to use at least one chain surveillance company to screen incoming transactions. This is a really disappointing turn to see Wasabi take, because I used to be a fan of them, but this really happened back in March of 2022. The zkSNACKs coordinator, this is from the official Wasabi wallet account, the zkSNACKs coordinator will start refusing certain UTXOs, certain chunks of Bitcoin at certain addresses, from registering to CoinJoins. And how do they know which ones to refuse? Because they're using a chain surveillance firm and they're spying on this. This is not something that they're legally required to do. They could look the other way, and they would look the other way if they were not more interested in profits than in privacy. So I'm going to link in the description notes below to all their legal documents over at GitHub. We can see here coin filtering. zkSNACKs may execute illicit activity checking and control via a contracted third party solely in its CoinJoin coordination services. Here's some of the things that they're going to be looking for. Sales of narcotics, items that infringe or violate any intellectual property, ammunition, firearms, which obviously includes lots of different things, transactions that show that the personal information of third parties in violation of applicable law, etc. So some of these are obviously things you want to check for, at least if you're a government or some sort of enforcement agency. This is very strange for a privacy company to be worried, for example, if you're purchasing ammunition or something like this, which is legal in many parts of the world. But this is basically this company bowing its knee to the U.S. to the U.S. government. And some of these prohibitions are actually very broad. And so you may find if you're using them, they're a little bit like PayPal here. They just might not like the business you're in or what they think you're in. And these chain surveillance firms, their analysis it's a probability analysis. It's not always very good. There are various people who've ended up in jail and or awaiting trial because of these chain surveillance companies. And so this is the disturbing thing about zkSNACKs. This is the disturbing thing about this particular instance of Wasabi wallet that Trezor is using. And Trezor knows what they're doing, as we're going to see. Now, as I said, I'm certainly not advocating that anyone try to break any laws. Please follow all local laws and regulations. But as I said, here's a Coinjoin coordinator, supposedly a freedom and privacy company like zkSNACKs, that doesn't seem to give a fig about the First or Second Amendments. Again, they're not required to do this by the U.S. government. And we'll see that Coinjoin coordinators, they're not money transmitters. This is not something that they're required to do. This is something that they're choosing to do on their own, which makes it extremely suspect. It makes you wonder whether they're also working for some of the three-letter U.S. government agencies. Even if you don't personally care about these freedoms, do you really want to use a company that's actively paying the enemy, a chain surveillance firm, and that can easily become a tool of the government? Because zkSNACKs is bending the knee to the U.S. government here, even before they're asked to. And as we'll see, this is not something they need to do. You have to ask yourself, what do you think zkSNACKs would have done if confronted by Justin Trudeau and his government during the Canadian truckers rally? Would they have refused transactions coming from various truckers' accounts? And I think, or trucker UTXOs associated with truckers, I think they certainly would have. I think we have a really good idea what they would have done. Like Trezor, zkSNACKs cares much more about money than they do about freedom. If Trezor really cared about these things, they'd be a Bitcoin-only company. This was the big tip-off, which I obviously missed. But the fact that they're using zkSNACKs here is really completely unacceptable. It's one thing for a crappy exchange like Coinbase to blacklist certain Bitcoin transactions, but if you're a privacy-centric company like Wasabi, zkSNACKs, even Trezor, you got to be kidding me. This is completely unacceptable. A couple great tweets here from Chris Bleck. Trezor hid the below reply to their tweet announcing their partnership with the government-friendly Wasabi wallet. Then they blocked me. WTF is going on with Trezor? Have they gone full spook? That's a very good question to ask. And here's Chris asking them, and then having his reply hidden. Why aren't you addressing the elephant in the room? The fact that you're opting to block Coinjoin transactions from BTC addresses that the government tells you to block. Another great tweet from Chris. Wasabi wallets use chain analysis to block Bitcoin transactions that governments don't like. Their stance is that we need the government's permission to have BTC privacy. Now here's another great tweet thread from Samourai wallet. Samourai wallet and Wasabi wallet have been locked in a battle to the death for many years now. So you can take it with that context, you can take it with a grain of salt. But I have to say that in this particular battle, I would definitely side with the folks over at Samourai. And this is what they said back in March of 2022 when Wasabi announced that it was going to get in bed with the US government and chain surveillance firms. Coinjoin coordinators are simply message passers. This is true of Wasabi and Whirlpool, which is the instance of Coinjoin that Samourai invented and uses. They are not, and here's the important thing, as I said, they are not money transmitters. They are not felicitators. They simply pass data packets to connected clients. Clients never surrender custody to any third party. Clients collaborate with each other. And here's some great analogies that Samourai tosses out. Your ISP is not responsible for the websites you visit, even though they serve you the data packets that made your visit possible. Your VPN is not responsible for copyright infringement when you illegally download a torrent. The ability to share data freely, be it books, art, media, thoughts, and ideas, or UTXO state, in other words, Bitcoin UTXOs or chunks of Bitcoin, this ability is essential for free society and is fundamentally human. And what you're doing here with Coinjoin is you're basically creating a fresh UTXO that is a lot like physical cash in your pocket. So it's basically not trying to do anything we don't already have with the physical cash in our pockets. Obviously, US dollars and other forms of cash that circulate online are highly tracked and not private. But I think this is a really good point, and this shows how much Wasabi overcomplied before they were even asked by anyone to do that. They clearly care more about profits than the privacy of their customers. So you can read more into this Samourai versus Wasabi debate. It's very complicated. There's lots of ill will on both sides. But I'll tell you my conclusion after doing a lot of research on both these companies, listening to a lot of podcasts with the founders of each of them. I come down firmly on the side of the Samourai guys. They're not always the most polite guys on Twitter, so I'm certainly not endorsing that. But they're also, there's no evidence, and I don't believe that they're in bed with the U.S. government and chain surveillance firms like Wasabi and Trezor are. So if you're going to do a CoinJoin, and it's certainly not something you have to do, you have to take into account future implications of this. But if you are going to do it, I would use Samourai, or I would use JoinMarket. I'll link to both of these websites in the description notes below. Samourai is a little more user-friendly. JoinMarket a little less user-friendly, though someone I believe is working on a new user interface that will make it a little bit more user-friendly. So instead of Wasabi, use Samourai Whirlpool. For CoinJoins, instead of Trezor, as we said at the beginning of this video, use a Blockstream Jade or a Cold Card hardware wallet. All these services are fairly easy to figure out on your own. I'll link to the resources in the description notes below. You just read the relevant FAQ and setup instructions on each site. And Samourai has a nice app even for Android phones. If you need more hand-holding, you can check out my paid course where I go into depth and I show you exactly how I set up these things. But it's certainly not something you need to buy in order to use these services. If you like doing your own research, you can do it all on their websites. But I will link to my paid course in the description notes below, so you can also access that. And in this course, among many other things, I teach you how to buy non-KYC Bitcoin, how to buy Bitcoin anonymously, as well as down here how to the pros and cons of coin joining, UTXOs, chain surveillance, and CoinJoin, how to coin join Bitcoin on your desktop computer. So there's really a lot to go into. Just those 3 lectures on CoinJoin are approximately an hour and a half of material. So it's much more long form content than I currently am putting on YouTube. Again, if you want to do it on your own, you can certainly Google these things and check it out. If you found this video helpful, be sure to hit that subscribe and like button. Hit the notification bell if you want to be notified when I publish my next video. And let me know your questions and comments in the comment section below. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.